Look at this. Look, let's go. Beautiful are these? These are gorgeous. Yeah. They're so pretty. Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah. So okay. I almost want you to have like a part, but you talk about me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll save. I'll remember you there. So I'm going to get us going, and as people come in, we welcome them in. Jen's here leads them. So let me just say this. So I'm going to kick us off with a round of introductions, as we usually do. And then as people come in, we'll have them introduce themselves. Hi, Nettie. Thank you.
Hi.
You came off mute, so why don't I grab you? Will you kick us off with introductions today? Say your name if you're part of an organization, your pronouns if you like. Anything else?
Nettie Morano, Commissioner, and I may be in and out because I have a work person here. Just so if I don't answer, I'll be back.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks.
As most of you know, welcome Kyle.
Hi.
I'm Emily Flynn. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston. She, her pronouns, and I'm the coordinator for Live Well Kingston. I'm going to go around the room this way. If you mind going next.
Nettie said where she's from.
Nettie, you identify as a community member, right? And you work with Age Well?
Yes.
Anita asked if you were part of any organization.
Other than Age Well, I'm also a commissioner for the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Anthony, do you mind going next? We'll go around the room this way.
I'm Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm a Live Well Commissioner. I'm also a Climate Response Commissioner. Jaden pronoun. And I am Kingston City School District Board of Education.
Awesome. Thank you so much for just doing a round of introductions. Yvonne, if you don't mind going next.
I'm Yvonne Crichton, envoy of the Salvation Army pastor. I'm the commissioner of, I'm still learning. What is it that I'm commissioner of?
You're a commissioner for Live Well Kingston.
Live Well Kingston.
Got it. Yep.
And happy to be here and to give my input to make this a better community for us.
Thank you for being here.
Katrina?
Yeah, hi, Katrina Williams. I am she, her, they, them pronouns. I'm the Deputy Commissioner at the Ulster County Department of Mental Health and Live Well Coach.
Katrina.
She, her pronouns, food systems consultant.
Oh, and no.
Anita Softness, I'm also the same one. I guess like our first official meeting. I'm just learning about the commission, and I am a family physician who works with community medicine for the family medicine residency programs. Interesting.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. I'm Kyle Muther. I'm a commissioner of Live Well Kingston, and I am a global health and strategy consultant with the Kingston Foundation most of the time.
Thank you so much.
Cool, Kristen Kessler, my pronouns are she, her. Project manager, working on food and nutrition projects for the city of Kingston. Everyone knows me.
All right, thank you, everybody. And I believe Sarah Brainer's going to join us remotely. No, that's not her, Lexi. We might have a full house tonight, y'all. That is fantastic. So I'm going to share the agenda on the screen. I believe our first order of business will be to consider adopting December's meeting minutes. Would anyone like to see a printout to review before we do a vote? Yes, great, here it is. Then why don't we give anybody a chance to check that out before we call for the vote. So why don't I move that to a little bit later on the agenda. And I'll move us down to administrative matters to jump right in. Okay, so thank you everyone for replying. Well, for those who replied very quickly to my prompt about officers for the commission. My goal right now is to create a slate of officers and call for a vote and set our chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. Before we get into it, does anybody have any questions about those positions or the roles? Any questions, kind of clarifying, anything about it?
As far as the secretary position, you said in your email, because I noticed you take notes during the meeting, what are you hoping the secretary could do?
Great question. I think I would do a horrible job of taking notes during the meeting. It's really hard to facilitate taking notes at the same time. When I have capacity, I sometimes will go back and rewatch the video and try to catch up on the notes. We record all of the videos, they're all on YouTube. So in terms of a government meeting, in terms of open information, they are recorded, so anyone can access them anytime. I highly recommend that we do very basic notes. It's so much easier to go back and be like, okay, what did we decide? So the bare minimum would be any decisions, any votes that we make. And then sometimes you'll find, if you don't already know, in our conversations, we don't have a vote action that happens, but we will have a discussion. And it does not need to be that in depth. It could be a one sentence recap of this is what we talked about. And if we make a decision about it, like Emily's going to research that and present that the next time, something to that effect. So I really, if you look back at any of our past notes, you'll see that that's the level of detail that I do. That's what I'm looking for. If someone wants to go deeper, by all means. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, thanks.
All right, then I can call for a discussion. A few people expressed interest in specific positions. Would you guys like to talk about that? Would anyone like to say, I know exactly what the slate should be, here's what it should be? What would you guys like to do next? You want me to remind you what I saw in the emails? Yeah.
Oh, quick question. Are these all open right now? Because
Yes,
I actually wasn't aware who was doing these before.
yeah.
Or no, or did we not fill them last year?
We did if it technically, so Heidi was the chair, Katrina, I believe you were the vice chair, Sarah Brainerd was the secretary. I don't remember who was treasurer because there's,
You just
I
had.
don't remember. Maybe we didn't do one, I'm not sure.
Oh.
I doubt there'll be anything the treasurer would do.
Like I said in my email, I'm willing to do really any of the three. So I was thinking by process of elimination, if people are interested in certain positions, I might see where the need ends up being. And then I don't need to have a service position.
Thank you so much for being flexible. Trina, I saw you express interest in chair or vice chair.
Yeah, I love organization, I love systems, I wanna have the chair be a little bit more active this year. I expressed that I have a little bit more time than I usually do, and I work with Emily in person so often. I think that it would be an easy.
Thanks. Sounds great. Can I make a motion?
I think Sarah Brainerd expressed some interest. I think she's gonna join us in a moment, but she hasn't joined us yet. We could wait for her, or, I think she's in the notes, or she's in the agenda.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know if she's in the meeting or not, but. She's not on
Okay.
yet. Yeah, she does do that, sometimes.
To prepare, maybe.
Yeah,
She might have it open.
She might be trying to come and be in another meeting or something like that.
Yeah. That's just like, I just saw her face.
That's funny.
I see it, yeah, you're right.
This is shared, right?
Say it again?
Sorry, this is shared, right? This.
The document?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, there she, look at that, she's joining right now.
She knew we were talking about it.
We'll let her join in. When you say shared, the Google document is in a
Yes.
shared folder.
Because when I got on it, I was like, I think I need to get off because it looks like we can all share it, yes. Add on to it, yes.
Yeah, I believe I've invited new members to that Google folder. If you have any questions about access or how to use it, please let me know. The idea really is that in an ideal world, people could just go in and do a suggested edit and add something to the agenda if they wanted to, so they could even take me out of that equation. No need to do that process-wise, you can always email me at it. But that's sort of the wonderful technology about Google Docs is it can be used in a very flexible way.
And you have it set for suggesting, so you can't just like accidentally like mess up like the whole thing.
I like that because sometimes people will be like, I'd like to talk about Eat Well, and like, who should I point it to when it comes to that agenda? So it's just a nice way to organize it. Sarah, you must have heard you must have heard us talk about you're coming in just as we were starting to talk about the officers. So we've heard from Katrina Light that she's interested in chair. We've heard from Katrina Williams that she's interested in any of the positions, and I believe you expressed some interest as well. Would you like to? Yeah.
Yeah, I have bandwidth. Starting probably 2 months from now, I'm off on one board and I'm leaving and slowly leaving another, fully out of there by June, but my responsibilities will start to diminish come March. So I should have some bandwidth. So if others are, interested, I certainly don't want to take away from someone who might be interested in it as well, but I do have some time and space to put more time and energy into this.
Thank you so much. That's so lovely to hear. All right. So, Katrina or Sarah?
You had mentioned that you had thoughts about doing things as chair.
Things, yeah.
Well, yeah. If that's your hope, I think you will be disappointed to that's kind of not. She is kind of chair. I don't think that the chair really does.
Oh, Katrina can do lots of things if she wants.
Emily and I have a great working relationship. We've had meetings about what the chair could provide so that maybe Emily has more bandwidth and just maybe around like organization, a few more task oriented things. I'm not saying I'm gonna change the level structure, but I think that I think we've all kind of expressed for a few more like actionable items from this group, and maybe having some deliverables. So I'm happy to kind of push for that a little bit.
And it feels to me like, not to speak for the two of you, but that like a chair taking a more active role would be most welcome, that
Yes.
right, there would be opportunity for that. Seems to me.
Just saying, that's fine.
Yeah, we had that strategic conversation. Later in the agenda, I hope to show with you sort of some next drafts of the action plan. I really hope in 2025 that we can continue to reflect on our strategic goals. And I think the chair can give me some direct advice in the best working relationship, meaning like there are times when I just need to bounce ideas off of somebody, and I really would love someone to be able to do that with. Open to much more, there's sort of unlimited amount of work that can be done. So it's also a little bit of identifying what we want to prioritize. All right.
Remind me your background, because you said it and I didn't.
Just general food systems. I was at the Farm Hub for the past 6 years as the food access manager. Before that, I was the director of food sustainability at Bard College. Degree in food systems, float around the food systems world, but yeah.
Okay.
Katrina and I also met sort of as co-creators of the Kingston Emergency Food.
Oh, very cool to know. Okay.
Co-creators with a whole group of people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
Love some co-collaboration. Well, we actually met doing the Black History dinner. We threw this big party for the month of February. It was the same experience.
I love all the ways I've met all of you. Not to just highlight that one. So to me, it sort of feels like my question is sort of like, who would like to be the secretary to go into, that's the position that feels the most uncertain to me. Sarah, Katrina, are either of you interested in secretary?
Well, Sarah, you've been doing it.
Yep, ish. I haven't been there to take the best notes, and I think I've not been available for all the calls because it technically is still my work day. But I think that there was going to be some flexibility and change, and I finally have some team members, yay, at work. So I think that's something I could join in doing. But if I'm also willing to give that up for somebody else to give it a try.
Somebody else?
Does someone express an interest in vice chair?
Not directly. I heard an interest in any of the positions.
Katrina?
I know.
it? Oh my
I know.
That would be so wild.
Yep. Could be Katrina, Light for chair, Katrina Williams for vice chair. If Sarah's interested in secretary or someone else for secretary, or someone else is interested in secretary, we could, Sarah could move to treasurer.
I looked up that you did say it would be nice for someone else to kind of take the lead on notes.
Yeah, I really could use that help.
I'm not gonna jump to volunteer for that because like virtually I wouldn't mind doing it, but to log like I don't travel with my laptop, so it would be super convenient for me to do that in this particular meeting. And I do try to come in person when I can.
I understand the complications of it.
I think if I have to be virtually, secretary fits in well. The problem is sometimes I can't hear what everybody's saying. So that's hard being secretary, not in the room. But I do take my laptop, probably 2 laptops with me everywhere I go. So there's the difference there.
Not to put you on the spot, but Kyle, you brought your laptop. Would secretary be of interest to you?
I take notes a lot. I'm very good at notes, so. I'm a big proponent of taking good notes and sending out. So yeah, I'm happy to do that, sure. Oh, no, it's okay. I live on my, I spend so much.
I was like, your laptop is up and you're.
There's this one meeting not to bring your laptop to. It was probably the same.
No, I don't have to do that. That sounds good. Yeah.
All right, so what I'm hearing is Katrina Light.
Well, told.
Katrina Williams for vice chair.
All right.
Kyle for secretary and Sarah for treasurer.
What do I have to do as treasurer?
Nothing.
Nothing. Manage no money.
Yeah.
Just smile. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. So I could hear a motion to accept those that I just said as the slate of officers for 2020.
So moved.
Thank you, Anthony. Do I hear a second?
Second.
That was Anthony. Thank you. All in favor? You could say it. Say aye.
Aye.
I think everyone said aye. No abstentions. All right. Thank you, everybody. Motion passes. Yeah, we're off to a good start. Okay, let's keep the momentum. Let's talk about meeting dates and times. So I know some of you have joined this commission sort of knowing that this was the time that we met, and so I understand that meeting times can be hard. The question on the table is, would you like to keep the same meeting time, which is third Wednesdays, 4:15 to 5:45? Or would you like to consider different meeting times?
I would appreciate it if we could go to 4:30.
Okay. So, do you mean if we go, like, start at 4:30?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So then we'll go from 4:30 to 6. How do people feel about 4:30 to 6 on the third Wednesday? Tough for you?
Just as a single parent, I'm gonna be scrambling, but a 4 to 5:30 would be nicer, just for bedtime and dinner and.
I can explain the 15, so at some point we moved it to 4:15, people needed a little extra time to make it here, because the 4 o'clock was difficult, so at some point we got that weird time, it's 4:15. So I hear 2 options, 4:30 to 6, and I hear 4 to 5:30 for different reasons. I could send it, we could continue talking about it, I could send out a survey, and we could collect results that way. So, other strong feelings about it?
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I personally like the 4:15 to 5 for the reason that I can't really work at 3:45. So and 4 is better, and then the other thing too with family going at 6 is a little too late for me. So personally, I kind of like the time.
And you like the 4:15 specifically?
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
there's not that many,
It's
there's not
fine,
much
just
wiggle room.
the 4:30 push just feels, yeah, that
It's
little
a-
bit,
makes it
even though it's
a
only
little-
15 minutes, it feels.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah.
Sarah, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, typically, my board meetings are always on Wednesdays. That's just for how it falls. I don't know why. Now that I'm leaving too, that's good, but now I still have it on this one, so I go from meeting to meeting. So work, meeting, and so I'm okay with that. The 4:15 is a sweet spot, because if I do need to get there, it gives me a little bit of wiggle room to get there. So 4:15 or 4:30, but my other meeting starts typically at 6. So it's just, if I physically come, I have to really risk not being online for either work or with that meeting. So either way, Wednesdays are just not my sweet day, because I am just at this computer all day long when that happens. But that being said, the 4:15 has been working out better than the 4 o'clock would, so.
Nettie, I see you came on camera. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, anytime is fine with me. I'm really flexible.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was gonna ask if there were other days, but like we were talking about Wednesday, but I know there's other city commission meetings that makes it challenging.
I like Wednesday because it's the only day I can come. So I was moved to a different day, I have to resign.
Yeah.
It's pretty boring.
And just because I work till 6 p.m.
So if I miss like the first 15 minutes of either this meeting or the last 15 minutes of the meeting I just left, like neither of those are generally consequential. So if that's the time that works for everyone else, it's. I mean,
Thank you for being flexible, Anthony. I really appreciate that. So, Yvonne, have you chimed in? Would you like to talk about your
I'm
schedule?
okay with the earlier the best.
The earlier the best, okay.
Because like everyone else, run here and then I'll have to run out. And like I said, my days on Wednesday ends at 8 p.m.
Well, you all have very busy lives.
Yeah.
In terms of some like historical context, and I think it's so hard, especially in this day and age where like some of us, work remotely and like kind of more make our own schedules and things like that, flexible work schedules. We had talked about finding a sweet spot where like I serve in my capacity at my job, right? So like I would love to be out at 5 and go home to my little one. Whereas we also wanted to be cognizant that there might be people who have to work until 5 and also be able to participate in the meeting. So that's kind of why we have this awkward time, 4:15, whenever to try to be in the middle. But it's hard. Everybody's schedule's different these days, so it's kind of hard to find something that works well.
But I'm fine with the 4:15, because I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah, it sort of feels like we're leaning towards 4:15, and Ethan, I'm sorry that it might be a little bit awkward for you. Please join us when you're able to. Sort of feels like that's what folks have joined at that time, knowing that availability. So I see some head nods. I don't think we have to do a formal vote for it, so, I guess if you go after this meeting, if you feel like something comes up or you feel like really strongly, please let me know, and I can always send out a survey. We can go down that road again if you'd like. All right. So thank you all. All right, so it looks like we're gonna stay with 4:15 to 4:40 to 5:45 now. And as always, we thank you for joining for whatever amount you're able to. Hey, thank you so much, everybody. All right, we are on a roll. I'm gonna take us back to the December meeting notes. I can bring it up on screen if anyone would like, or I can hear a motion to approve them. Here, bring it up on screen.
I move to approve minutes.
Thank you, Anthony. Do I hear a second?
Second.
That was Katrina White. Thank you. All in favor to approve the December meeting agenda and notes?
Aye.
All right, Sarah and Nettie, I didn't hear you guys.
Hi.
Thank you. And maybe Nettie had to step away. All right, that's
I'm-
enough.
I'm here.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
I wasn't there though. That's one,
Okay.
one change I would make.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
your presence was here.
Oh, thank you. That's the one, yeah, one meeting I missed.
All right, thank you for that. I'll make that edit. Okay, thank you, everybody. So coming back to today's, okay, that brings us 2. So, I'm gonna share my screen so you can all follow along with me. So I just want to draw your attention to a little bit to a part of our agenda. So, to center us, we've recently had that discussion about sort of streamlining our focus teams to travel well and eat well. And in the past, when we had 6 focus teams, the way that I structured our agendas was that pretty much every month or so, a different focus team would present. If we are streamlining it down to 2, my thought is we might want to go back to sort of a monthly update on the action plan, which is what I had done in previous years. And so my thought is, or my ultimate goal in the next couple of months, is to have an action plan document that we can look at. It's really hard for me to, sorry, to do this couple things at once. My goal would be to have sort of a working document that we can check in on and see what is being done and what's getting accomplished. That's my proposal for how the meetings could be structured. For today, let's dive into it a little bit and start to reflect on sort of the next draft of this document. We can keep considering the structure of the meetings. That's sort of my proposal to you. So think about that. Let me know your feedback on if that's what you'd like. I see you all looking at this already. That's great. I'm going to bring us back to Kristen and I had sort of talked to you about, we had a draft of our goals last month. The first section was what I'm going to call Eat Well. And the second section was what I'm going to call Travel Well. And then this third section has sort of turned into some communications work. Kristen, do you want to go first? Would you like me to go first with Travel Well stuff?
Doesn't matter. You can go first since it's first in the.
Yeah, I think yours might be more complicated.
Okay.
Let's do yours first. So I've asked Kristen to talk through with you a little bit. What you're looking at right here is the goals and objectives that we sort of agreed upon last month. At the same time, Eat Well has already developed their action plan for 2025, and it slightly doesn't align. And so I've asked Kristen to sort of talk through that a little bit with you all tonight so that we can come up, and it can be a transition. It doesn't have to be an immediate one or the other. Is that clear to everybody where we're going?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to share your screen? What would you like?
Can
Would you like me to keep sharing that?
Yeah, will you keep sharing? And I'll
Sure.
put the link to the Eat Well action plan in the agenda.
Great.
So it's captured there. Oh boy.
Would you like me to open that one up too?
Yeah, because I think we could compare the two. So so Eat Well developed their action plan already. We started this process in, we had like a facilitated brainstorming session in November and then in December. So after that November brainstorming session, the chair and I took what we heard from people, drafted up a action plan, presented it in December, had conversations about it. And our December meeting, the attendance was relatively low, so it didn't feel like appropriate to kind of open it up for like a vote or consensus building, but I still don't see the action plan changing that much. So that's to say that there was input, there was feedback, there was conversation about this. So I say that because as of this year, it does not feel appropriate for me to change the Eat Well action plan. Not that I think anyone's gonna be like, Kristen, change that action plan, but I'm just setting that out there. So this has been created. If you'll go back to and I can compare the two, but if you go to the goals for the Kingston, the thing is that our Eat Well action plan does not work towards any of these goals. So this is what we talked about in the Kingston meeting last time, because Emily and I had talked and we were like brainstorming, like, what would be really interesting to put in this based upon really this feedback from the commission of wanting to be actionable, measurable, things like that. So we had talked through improved physical, social, and economic access to healthy foods. There was a lovely, robust conversation last time on that.
the objectives, I don't think we really confirmed specifically the objectives, but to increase the number of food retail locations that offer 10 or more fruits and veggies. That is something that is actually reflective. It aligns with the food systems plan that I swear is coming out in February. I promise you, for everyone's input. So these kind of objectives, all of this work would align with the work that we've done through the food systems plan. To be very transparent, the food systems plan, in order for it to be done, you know, it's being built in to explore ways to hire a person to do that work, because that work is outside of the current scope of work that we do at the city between my job and Emily's job. So this is all like more work that's to be done. We would need increased capacity. So it does align with the food systems plan. It does not align with any of the goals really that have been set by the Eat Well Action Plan. So if we're looking at the Live Well Kingston Commission action plan as something that is like reflective of the work that's being done in the focus teams, you know, the spirit is the same. Like we're all kind of working towards the same thing, but you can't say the strategies, the tactics, the goals that are in this action plan align with the one that's in the commission action plan. So
Can I go through these goals, because I feel like I got a good snapshot of the commission's goals.
Yeah.
Now I want to see what else is here.
yeah, so I'll do this relatively quickly. Goal 1, foster collaborative, supportive network of food security and healthy eating stakeholders focused on Kingston. So this is kind of like what we heard a lot from Eat Well was that people really liked having the space to network, to learn, to identify opportunities for collaboration, to break down silos, not build up silos, to break down silos. So that's why the strategies are to continue hosting our meetings, convening working groups, utilizing a multimodal communications approach to sharing resources and information. This is really just kind of this like, I don't know, it's like not saying, it's like difficult to measure in terms of like outcomes for health, but it's like this like, we're bringing people together sort of goal. We'll scroll down. Second goal is increase supportive healthy eating and nutritious food access through policy change. This has been driven by interest in people from policy, curious what that looks like. I will say no one has really like stepped up to really kind of lead or advocate for this work. I think, you know, we were kind of doing a little bit of that last year. I had kind of asked like, would people be interested in having a working group or a subcommittee that focused on like one policy? Like right now, you know, I know that, you know, the benefits of universal free healthy meals, big topic in New York State right now because of Governor Hochul's recent statement. So this would be around there. That is the one that kind of maybe most directly aligns with the commission's action plan. But there's not, I hesitate a little bit, like, because there's not the capacity of that work being done in Eat Well currently, you know, so there's not like a working group already that's around that. Goal 3, I would love to build that. I'm not saying we can't do it, but just to be realistic. Provide clarity on Eat Well's role within the Kingston food system. So this captures the idea that we'll have this food systems plan, and there's been conversation on like, so what's Eat Well? What's the food systems plan? Who's doing what? How is Eat Well? It's like the same thing. The commission has evolved. What does that look like now for Kingston? Eat Well has evolved. What does that look like now? Also, our mission, vision, and values are like, basically we do everything. And that doesn't feel very, like we can't be very impactful when we're trying to do everything. Like, you know, so like, there was like some suggestions that we take a look at those and kind of maybe refine those, you know, Eat Well's been around for a while. And goal 4 really captures the Kingston Eats and Kingston Cooks programs that are kind of already happening anyways. So it's encourage a culture of healthy eating, food, fun, and culinary curiosity in the city of Kingston. So once again, our Kingston Eats Harvest of the Month, Kingston Cooks cooking workshops.
So I feel like this is stuff I don't know a whole lot about. So maybe objective observers' input might be helpful. To me, I'm curious whether some of this stuff is like foundational work that could happen to get you to the goals identified in the commission's plan.
So let's go back to the commission's plan. So now that we've walked through those, so if our goal, we could change how we achieve this goal, but if we're improving physical access to healthy foods, you know, So that is trying to get healthy foods in more places. That's not an activity Eat Well is doing. Maybe through policy change.
I was
Maybe.
gonna say, you could argue policy change.
Maybe,
Right, that's
physical
what I'm
activity if
thinking,
we're-
or even bringing the people together in the way that goal one talks about is what is needed to, because like, what's the who, like, who's the who in this?
Yes.
And how?
It just feels like we're like really stretching like the connectivity. Like we are bringing people together, but there's no one in Eat Well that's directly working with food retailers or corner stores to encourage them
Yeah.
to increase nutritious options. Like if we had a healthy corner store program, that's one thing. For economic, just the kind of, because it's similar, like to piggyback on that, you know, the CHISC program is working with food pantries. So that's when we're like, CHISC, not captured really in the Eat Well action plan, but is working. So we're doing some of that, but so I thought about who was showing up in Eat Well. Yeah, I'm like, I don't see anybody in that group that's literally working to increase the number of food retail locations that offer 10 or more fruits and veggies. That could be potentially part of the food systems plan, as we've identified that there are, we have an opportunity to increase food retailers that accept SNAP and increase SNAP food retailers offering more nutritious options. Once again, that's the food systems plan, and it's not really captured in the Eat Well goals.
I mean, you have members from the Farm Project who are on Eat Well, who are the,
The YMCA
yeah,
Farm Project.
who are providing a physical farm stand in Midtown. And then 2 years ago, we did that report with all of the corner stores. We did a full survey of which produce was offered at all of the like bodegas and smaller groceries along the Broadway corridor, which is
Yes.
theoretically still available through Farm Hub.
Yes, so I guess part of my duality in looking at this and coming to this meeting was, you know, either made the considering the commission's goals and reworking the objectives or reworking something so that it felt like it was not so tenuous of a connection to the Eat Well action plan, like we weren't trying to stretch it to make it work, or calling in the commission to say, well, we really like these objectives. How can the commission play a very active role in helping us? So the, you know, the inventory of places that you just mentioned, Katrina, I don't have the capacity to do that. Would a commissioner, like, would the commission be interested in trying to do that sort of project?
Can I say something? Sorry.
Yeah.
As you was, the other slide, as you was going through it, I just had this. People want to know why health, right? And then the focus group, the stakeholder, is it just us? Or are we talking about the community? Like, for me, I keep, like last time when I was here, it's just sound like it's us and commissioner and Kingston, the ones who own the bodega, but do the community, because we're here for the community, right? For instance, we had a vegetable that came in today and a lot of people didn't even touch the box, right? So why are we giving them this? They just need to know why. And then this meeting we have, is it gonna stay here or like you said, because I'm willing to go out in the street to speak to the bodegas and stuff, right? But why am I gonna do that? They need to know why Live Well is reaching out to them. Because before Live Well, I knew about Live Well, but I only knew about flyers that I've seen because I was a counselor in my other position. That's it. I didn't see Live Well. Like people see Salvation Army, they see the Institute, they see her agency. But I didn't see anyone from Live Well. So is it here that we're a commissioner or what's the action? Like last time we spoke about that. We need to have action. So when we go to bodega, I speak Spanish, I'll go and do that too. So when we go to the bodega, this is why. And then what type of Live Well information we're giving them. Because we don't want to waste our time in food or things that the community don't even touch or even know about. So that's a waste of time. So let's focus on what they need. How can we serve them? And then we can start moving forward. So we need action.
Yeah, I'm very happy to, I facilitate and just like hold the space and do the admin and reflect back for Eat Well. So like if people are like, yeah, like I'm ready to do some sort of action, I think that we should, create action there. I'm happy to do that for folks. I think my only pushback is that I don't have the time to be the only person who's going out to all of the
I can
stores and bodegas. Yeah. Yeah, so that's amazing, thank you for that, but,
Just reach out to me, I'll make my time, yes.
And Christian, that was your idea, I feel like last month was having every other month be an Eat Well versus a task force meeting that
yeah,
would combine some of the projected tasks out of the food systems plan. Is that still in the works?
yeah, so the idea before, was still Eat Well our meets every other month, and this past year we tried doing, we tried coming together to eat a meal at a free or low cost location, and as much as people said that they loved it and would go, they did not go. Very fine, everyone's very busy. So instead of doing that, we were gonna have these meetings, like a task force to look at the food systems plan. Because we're working internally right now with a couple of folks to kind of really polish up the plan before it's released publicly. Our first Eat Well meeting is in February, so we might be able to meet in March to talk about that. I was giving us the space of the entire year for 2025, just knowing that this work, because we all have other jobs, this work will take a while until we get to the end where we really kind of understand where Eat Well is, where the food systems plan is, where they overlap and where they diverge. So definitely there is a task force, hopefully that will be convened maybe in March.
One more thing, we have a kitchen and we have a large facility that we can house if you want to do some free, I'll help you with that too.
Cool, thank you.
I think you've been there, right? You visit us, that,
Mhm.
we have the soup kitchen, we just fix them, we have tables, chairs, whatever you need.
Yeah, amazing, thank you.
Quickly, to that point, what we're trying to figure out now could happen over the course of the year if we want to, I think is sort of where my mind goes. If you're trying to, if Eat Well's reconsidering also sort of their role, then maybe that should be part of this year-long process.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of didn't push it to be, for Eat Well to be defined immediately. So Eat Well is kind of operating business as usual while we had a parallel path of this food systems plan and understanding that, so.
Oh, just to clarify, these goals, because when I think about like the goals of the commission level and then I think of the goals of the focus group level, essentially the goals of the commission level should feel more higher level and they should incorporate and kind of link back to the goals of the focus groups. So I'm not sure, and so I think and they don't actually have to include, there doesn't have to be a one-for-one. I don't think you have to have the same goals in the LWK and the focus groups, right? But they do need to kind of generally summarize what the focus group is defined. But what I'm unclear about right now is who developed these LWK goals?
Me, we talked about these during the last meeting.
During the last meeting,
Yeah.
okay.
So this was, sorry.
And why are they so different than the goals of
That's
the?
what we're talking about right now.
Okay, but I guess I would just recommend that you create goals that are like kind of.
So
Yeah.
that was the question, was saying that, looking at these, so these were created based upon like hearing what the commission kind of wanted to be doing in Kingston. That goal of improving physical, social, and economic access to healthy foods felt like it was really something that was like, I was hearing from folks, we were hearing, it was resonating. And then when that goal was like, okay, so it was the idea that like, okay, we're working for Kingston. We're working on this big scale, like how can we improve healthy eating in Kingston? This is a way to define it, this goal, it's not the only way. And then it was like, okay, so then what does that look like in practice? And if we were defining access by physical, social, and economic, what does that look like in practice? So these were created separately. And then that was the reflection was like, well,
This was sort of like what we heard from, this is our attempt to reflect back to the commission what we had heard in the November meeting.
Yes.
Fair to say?
So they were not created in any way in collaboration with the focus team goals necessarily, at least like not these food goals. And that's when and looking back at it, I was like, well, these are pretty different than the Eat Well focus team goals. And so, and talking to Emily, we decided to bring that to the commission rather than us deciding what to do. We're like, let's ask the commission how we should.
Yeah, so I think there's an opportunity just to find like more alignment between the goals and then maybe go back to the Eat Well focus group and provide some recommendations on potentially some changes. So because that would be an idea. And again, I think there are some goals within Eat Well that don't need to be reflected in the broader initiative goals, especially ones that are, I think, more like a process and more organized around like the strength of the group. You know, like I think the first objective here is I don't think you need to have that in the draft.
I think, if I remember the last meeting we had, you said you just want to put everything there and see what happens, which one works and which one don't work. I think I remember one of you saying.
Say something?
I think that this is a discussion I think we had in the winter too, is like, what is the purpose of the focus teams? What is the purpose of the commission?
Yes.
Because as someone who's been on Eat Well for 7 years, for better or for worse, I think what we've decided with Eat Well is like, Eat Well wants to be like a networking group.
Got
Eat Well
it.
wants to learn things. They want to have presentations. Those are the ones that are, those are the meetings that people show up for. They want to talk about what they're doing in the community. They want to learn and share. And it's not as much as like, they want to be part of this umbrella task driven organization, whereas I think what would fill in those dots is the every other month meeting of the task force, being like, okay, so Eat Well is for this, and the task force is more directly aligned with these objectives and strategies.
Maybe it would, that's helpful, and I feel like maybe it would make sense for the commission to have goals that are more aligned with the food plan and goals more aligned with the Eat Well
Or
focus team.
or the
Like
task,
whole, like
right.
together,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, saying argue, and that's right, yeah, it's like, it's about share, because there was a goal, I think it was on the Eat Well about sharing and because as much as anyone in Eat Well who's ever pushed for it to be more task oriented, it's ended up, like, I think I sit on every working group and it's just, there's 2 of us, and it's like, this is maybe not the right group
No
for
one's
them.
going to the bodegas or the Yvonne, is what you're trying to do.
I mean, and a lot of us did it for work, so it was different, right?
Right.
It's just like, it's the same thing, it's like you're here under, if
Yeah.
you're able to have this as your work time versus this is the time to just network and convene. And so that's why, I mean, I'm personally excited about that task force actionable group, because it does feel like it actually is more in line with like what the commission's trying to accomplish. And if there's people, and I think that we talked about this too, is like, if you are in the commission, maybe there is, you know, are you on a focus team or are you on a working group? And that's kind of how we tie it all together. It's being slightly more actionable than we have been in the past.
Can I offer a thought just in general? This is all making me think of is there's this time together is great because it's strategic, it's planning, but then we're hearing that we're not all on the ground doing the work. So maybe we meet, I don't know if there's rules on this commission, if we have to meet monthly, but maybe this commission meets more every other month or quarterly. And then in those opposite months, we're all out actually having those committee meetings with our focus groups. So we're doing more of the work that will assist Eat Well, right? And it gives Kristen some more of our capacity or whomever, whatever that focus group that you're interested in. Just an idea. That way we're still devoting as much time as we are. We can still be strategic, but we can take some of those strategies to the street and meet with those focus groups in person instead of just talking about it in circles on this call. Not that that's what we're doing, but like, you know, we'll eventually, that's eventuality, like that could happen. So that's an idea.
I'm gonna take a step back because Sonia, I'm so confused, but it's like the task force, what's the task force? Are they the same as the focus groups?
We call the subcommittees focus teams. That's language that was here before I came. And so my understanding of Live Well is the idea was that the health was so broad that they sort of made separate subcommittees to think about health in different locations.
And the
What
task
is the task behind
force,
this?
We don't have a task force
we
yet.
don't have,
Oh,
so
okay.
that
You're
is
talking about task
within
force.
We're trying to
I don't
create,
know what that is.
create.
Okay.
development of the food systems plan.
Uh,
It touches on the like sustainability work that the city of Kingston does. So there's work on waste diversion, there's stuff on waste diversion, there's strategies in there on food production, on the distribution and so forth. So really things that are like outside of the scope of work of Live Well Kingston. So as we're developing this food systems plan, I think an important measure of accountability for the city is to have a group of people that is making sure the city does the plan. And supporting and helping and contributing expertise, in it. So the idea is that we would have a separate task force to review the plan and consider how to move forward. In other places, in other cities, in other counties or regions, these are often called food policy councils, but people do not want to call it that. We are not creating a new food policy council as of this moment. So we are calling it a task force instead.
And the food systems plan is ambitious and beyond the city of Kingston, because the food system is larger than the city of Kingston. So it may not be appropriate for Live Well to do all of the things that are in the food plan. That's sort of what you're saying. I just want to sort of echo that because I think it's an important distinction.
Yeah, there's parts that will definitely overlap with what Eat Well's doing, definitely overlap with Grow Well, but there are things that are, going to be outside of just Live Well at this moment. So, in working within, historical and complex structures that we already have in terms of Live Well Kingston and other like commissions, I think we're trying to just give ourselves some space to say we're going to figure it out. So right now it's called task force. We're not calling it anything else yet. And there only is one task force,
What are you saying is the task force?
food systems plan.
Okay, so it's not really related to,
And looking at who might join the food systems plan task force, it seemed like it had a pretty strong overlap with some Eat Well members as well. So before committing to developing an entirely new group, we thought that we would offer the opportunity for every other month when we're not hosting an Eat Well meeting to have this food systems plan task force and invite people to it. So it's like sort of related, sort of not at the moment.
So it's still, but it still sits within, we're still kind of considering it to be part of the Live Well Kingston effort. Right, it's still like it's part of the Live Well Kingston initiative. And so that's why we want to reflect it in the Live Well Kingston goals.
Well, the food systems plan is the city of Kingston. I don't know how you call that, but the initiative is.
Yes and no.
Okay, okay.
So I think what Andy's saying, that's right. It's a food systems plan developed for the city of Kingston.
So the city's spent like
Yeah,
money on, right?
yeah, that, some grant funding paid for it. Similar to, we may create a pedestrian bicycle master plan, which greatly informs what we might not get to tonight to talk about for travel well.
Yeah.
So, but Live Well is a health commission for the city of Kingston. These two plans were done by the Department of Health and Wellness of the city of Kingston. So there's different entities with slightly different goals. But
All part of it.
they all are sort of in our department that Kristen and I are the primary workers in. So yes. It's complicated. That's part of what we're trying to figure out here also, is the complication. So it's about 5:10. I think Yvonne's gonna get going soon.
Right.
It feels like there's a lot here for us to maybe think about and process. We hear Eat Well's gonna be meeting over the course of 2025 just to think about some of this as well. Would the commission like to keep considering this? How would you like to move forward?
Or is there only one commissioner who serves on that, or you still serve on that? And does anybody else serve on that? Because I feel like, and I think Sarah might ask a question, I forget who did, about like expectations around, especially because my focus team doesn't exist anymore. Like that, is there anything in our bylaws or anything about like our involvement in the focus teams? And I kind of like the idea about us maybe not meeting so often, so we can maybe invest some time in those working groups. That really appealed to me. I'm not really saying anything concrete, but.
I got too excited about it.
Yes.
Come join.
Just not to go too deep into it, the way that the bylaws are written, focus team chairs were encouraged to come to Live Well Kingston meetings. I don't believe commissioners, I don't believe there's a requirement to be in a focus team.
What are the focus teams?
So the way that Live Well Kingston was created was that there was potential focus teams. In 2024, there was 6. There was Age Well, Eat Well, Grow Well, Heal Well, Play Well, Travel Well. Some of that work is still gonna happen in 2025, by the way. I won't go there now. In our bylaws, there was other suggested wells. There was Grow Up Well, early childcare, Learn Well, which is sort of about education systems. There was Work Well, which would improve workplace wellness. There was Worship Well, which was wellness and work and worship, houses of worship. So those are other ones that were in our bylaws that we never had activated.
I think last year was my first year on the commission. It was really informative to have those presentations that the 3 of y'all, at the time Marcia as well did. But as Katrina mentioned, if we all kind of had a little bit more involvement with the focus teams, I don't think we'd have to have so much updating for everybody, because we would all be a little more plugged in. Or maybe it would be commissioners' jobs to do some updating instead of y'all's jobs, because that was I think that was a full meeting that we spent on each one of those.
Yeah.
So just an idea too, as we start reconfiguring, maybe there is some encouragement to like, which focus team do you want to be attached to as a commissioner?
Yeah, because I mean, I see this group as like the hub, and the spokes go out to the focus groups, but oftentimes the spokes are not very well connected because we're not part of the focus groups.
Right.
And I know that some of us are, but just speaking on behalf of myself, and I think a few others that are not part of focus groups, I think it could make us more integrated. As you know, if the purpose of this commission is to be be able to kind of speak to the whole of the effort, it would be better if we are actually doing something of the effort rather than just hearing about it. So, yeah, I think it's I like that idea a lot. We can each, and I would be happy to put time. The time that I have, I would love to be able to spend more of it in groups. So maybe I can.
And I'm interested as well to take action where we see what's needed, and speak to anyone. I love people, I love groups, so.
Do we have time to look at the goals for, is it Travel Well?
So the meeting technically is supposed to go to 5:45. I'm happy to talk about that. So great, let's go back, and if anybody needs to jump off, please feel free to. So coming up on the screen is, we had, excuse me while I try to find the right document. Okay, so we had sort of some clarification about what I call active transportation, which I consider walking, biking, and some scootering. And I think I had proposed that our ultimate goal in Travel Well is to increase walking and bicycling to everyday day destinations. And the way that we could measure that, or the objective, would be to increase walking and biking in the city of Kingston. I've taken a lot of what we said there and put it into a new document, just because in my brain, it was a way to sort of start fresh a little bit. So same goal, increase walking and bicycling to everyday destinations in the city of Kingston. And then our objectives and sort of measurement would be to increase daily average green line use by 10%, increase the average number of people walking and biking by 10%. And then the other parts is communications, which I'll hold off on to. So in my mind, that seems pretty clear that that would be the goal of travel going forward. And then there's many strategies and tactics to do that. A lot of this is stuff that's happening already, so I kind of just want to capture it and get credit for it. Would you guys like me to go deeper into strategy and tactics or any questions about that? Yeah, go ahead, Archie.
Yeah, I have something that I was kind of thinking, like, how can I use my role here on the commission to bring, like how can I be useful and put like my energy toward is like the safety issues that are, so you know, I was trying to remember, I was like, I don't know how much we focus on safety. It's something that I've been really concerned about. I know the city administration is concerned about it too. I was personally impacted by it was a close friend that was struck at the Five Corners recently. So like I'm feeling very activated around that.
Yes.
And some of the other, you know, recent losses that we had. So like for me, like my reaction to this is like, yes, I want that to happen, but I want it to be safe for our residents and anybody in Kingston. So I'm wondering if there's the opportunity, not knowing anything about the focus team or who's on it, like, is that something that's of concern to the team? Is that something that they talk about or would be interested in integrating into their work plan?
And just to be really clear at the time, there's no regular meeting of travel well.
Oh, there's not. Okay, I think I knew that.
For the most part, this is a chart of the work that I'm leading.
Okay.
That said, I'm a liaison for the Complete Streets Advisory Council, which talks about safety all the time. And then there's Green Line work, and we have other partners about the Green Line. So it's not completely fair to say that it's just me doing all this, but one of our goals is to try to get a team around this work going.
So maybe a clearer way for me to say what I'm trying to say is, are there opportunities for me as a commissioner to provide or to like work on the issue of safety, pedestrian, cyclists, and driver safety in the city of Kingston? Because I'm really interested in that.
Yes, it's a little bit. Some other groups are also talking about safety, so I don't want to do the same work twice.
Right.
So Complete Streets Advisory Council, their goal is that streets are designed for all users. And along with that is a safety component. So there's a lot of conversation happening at Complete Streets. Also, our CHIS grant, the part of the CHIS grant that I facilitate has funding for some street safety things. So we can buy the crosswalk signs that you see, for example. And there's a lot of the goals of the CHIS grant are to encourage walking and biking to every day. It's very similar goals to that we're building here for Live Long. A lot of what I consider pedestrian and bicycle safety in the city of Kingston. Okay, let me take a step back. There's a general philosophy about transportation safety, and they break it down into these categories of E's: engineering, education. Oh my God, enforcement, thank you. Equity, so that's at least 4 of them. Sometimes they add more E's. Engineering is the way that the streetscape is designed.
Right.
That's mostly the engineering department. We assist them occasionally with public outreach or other things, but the city's engineer comes to Complete Streets and talks about the street design.
And is that like a commission, like the Complete Streets Advisory Group, like who is that composed of?
Yeah, so similar to Live Well, it is an advisory commission. In the same way they advise the mayor, they can advise the common council, they're appointed in the same way that Live Well is. But their focus is a little more drilled down, right?
Okay.
Could they be travel?
Yeah,
We're working like in parallel, like I almost feel like from where the vantage point where I sit, which is like knowing very little about food or travel, it's like, how can I do this work without being involved in that work? Do you know what I mean?
I guess Complete Streets doesn't know all this work that I'm doing.
That's what I'm saying though, it's
Yeah.
like different components of the same core issue almost.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think that's actually a positive. So there's different people who are looking at the same goals with slightly different lenses.
And I'll just want to interrupt, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think with, I'm gonna, a couple of points before I lose them, because that's what's gonna happen at this hour. With Travel Well, it was always a slow start. It was always, what do we do, right? Emily and I and Kristen Wilson, and we've met a lot on this. The Kingston Land Trust was doing a lot of that work at one point. They have shifted their focus away and they're not as involved. They'll be a partner, but they don't really need to and want to do it as much because they're shifting to more social equity work, activating land, making that land equity something that happens. There's a lot of groups that have been doing this over the years. I mean, you know, the Kingston Land Trust did a lot of the fundraising and on the Green Line and to make the Green Line happen and did all the grants. And we were a volunteer organization. Then it shifted to having staff. All of that changed quite often. And then when we sat on Travel Well, and when I joined Travel Well, it was, what do we do? What is the land trust doing? What is not? And everybody was kind of in a time of shift. I think, as Emily mentioned, there are so many groups doing so many parts of this. And I think that's okay. At first we struggled with it. We're like, we need to do it all. But there's no way we're going to do it all, especially the safety component, because we don't have that expertise. We don't know what's going on with the mental health. There's a lot of other groups tackling that. I know Radio Kingston is looking into that and trying to be a part of it. There's so many groups doing all the different things. I think there's just not a joining point. And we talked about maybe our role at some point is to connect all those folks, maybe hold a meeting, invite all those folks in so that everyone that's doing this work is not over replicating it, or if they're not replicating it in a bad way, so it's like not negatively impacting. But I think also a gap that the Kingston Land Trust left was that advocacy, the marketing, the letting folks know that that's just there as a resource, not maybe all the other pieces when it comes to all the E's, the engineering, the, you know, all those expertise E's. But I think just getting folks in the awareness bucket there, because I think that no one's really doing that part. So that could be a role for us. So I just think that this conversation has been going on for a decade to figure out who should do what where. And I just wanted to layer that into the conversation because I don't know, we've struggled with it over the years. Emily can attest to that one, I hope, on what to do and who should be doing it and who owns it. I think there's more clarity on who owns the Green Line now, because it was the land trust or the city, or who's doing what, where. I think some of those things have now been clarified. Maintenance plans were drawn up. There were grants that we got to do a lot of these things. But now I think some of that's starting to be clarified, but there's still all these other pieces. And everybody's excited about it. So it's not a bad problem. There's my notes.
There's so many thoughts as to where to go with this. I just want to step back. Also, you mentioned another part of safety, which is enforcement. And then I see that as the Kingston Police Department,
Right.
which we're not also. So safety is an integral part of active transportation because they are the most vulnerable road users. I don't know that safety is Travel Well's goal.
I think that I'll just speak for myself that I feel a lot of conflict looking at those goals, knowing how dangerous it feels to be a pedestrian and a driver in the city of Kingston. Like I would have trouble like ethically working toward those goals right now, quite honestly.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's really, I have to reflect on that. That's really interesting.
And it's really true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I was like, oh, I'll join Travel Well, but I really don't feel like I can contribute anything to that at all.
I mean, Complete Streets might be, I mean, Travel Well could use a liaison to Complete Streets. I mean, there's some other opportunities. The county has a trail, like, there's almost like two different pockets of this work also, which is like trail activation and that active transportation. And then there's like streetscape active transportation. And Sarah and I have been working on the green, which is sort of the Green Line, which is sort of trails. We've been working on that for a decade. And then the streetscape safety and active transportation, Complete Streets has been doing that for almost a decade now too, to varying degrees. So that's one way to look at it, since those two different, and maybe that's even sort of what's is reflected here, is the why of sort of two goals. One is Green Line and one is streetscape, or one is general.
Okay.
So I think there's other concerns of safety on the Green Line, which is a whole other bucket.
Yeah.
But the first thing is increase the feeling of safety on the Green Line specifically. But that's a little bit more about other definitions of safety.
Yeah, I mean, I find that really interesting that feels within the wheelhouse of the commission, but the streetscape doesn't.
I think this, because the streetscape safety is sort of happening in some other places.
Sorry, isn't the sidewalk improvement plan, isn't that, I would assume that that would incorporate elements of safety? 'Cause I think,
It depends on, yeah, of course, so,
is that's the big sidewalk improvement plan that's happening, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, that's,
yeah, that
I
is,
think
well,
that might be
well,
really interesting.
and also-
For anyone.
and also to be fair, I think everything I'm doing will increase safety, just to defend my work. But I don't think that we look through it through the lens of safety.
I mean, sorry, I'm kind of like stepping back a little bit.
Yeah.
There is a way where as a commission, we look at our goals and we figure out where we can plug in, whether it's on a focus team or not. Maybe it is, for you, it's complete streets instead of travel well, and you're bringing that knowledge and that work back to this group. But we're all kind of taking a piece of the puzzle of our overarching goals and saying, actually, this is maybe the best place for this. Because I think in our December meetings, we're saying, are these focus teams working? No one's showing up for them. Like, maybe this is a time where I think we all kind of decided, like, let's try some new things and see how it works. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's like, I'm gonna be on this other commission, or I think I've expressed interest in Parks and Rec. I'm like, what are Parks and Rec doing? How are they not part of this too? It's like, you know, it's, so maybe there's all these other.
Yes.
But I'm saying there's
Yes.
all these other things. It doesn't have to be a focus team. Like, maybe the focus teams aren't working as
Maybe
much
we
as-
just need to do more.
Maybe we're all just kind of picky, maybe it's a puzzle, and it's us figuring out what that puzzle looks like based on our own interest and expertise, and kind of pulling it back together to this commission and being like, look, now we can kind of see all the pieces. And then in a year from now, rework what the structure looks like, because we actually just all wanted to do the work. We wanted to go to bodegas, we wanted to learn about safety, we wanted to do these things, and we all had ownership over a piece of the pie. Just as an idea.
I feel like we've covered a lot. I'm gonna need to digest a lot of what we've talked about tonight. Do we want to continue the discussion next month? Do we want to move into a different system of every other month? How would you guys like?
So just to be clear, there is an Eat Well group that meets monthly.
Yeah.
And they're pretty, every other month, but there's no travel. Is Sarah part of the travel?
Yeah,
Well, okay,
so I had one travel well meeting in 2024.
got
It was
it.
a small group of us.
Okay,
I have on my goals to do another travel well meeting as soon as possible to review all those things. And then I'm a liaison on Complete Streets.
okay.
And then I work with the sustainability department. So the work is happening with some, and I'm usually, right now, I would see myself as the connector to all of it.
And there is, I mean, when we were, Emily and I were reviewing this earlier this week before coming here, I pointed out, and I was writing in some of the food stuff, that that Growell is not reflected in this, so I mean, there is the Growell focus team.
It's still coming.
And they still meet monthly, I mean, twice a month, because there's an evening meeting and a daytime meeting, and that is really focused on the needs of, it seems like mostly the community gardens and the garden stewards, but definitely is open to other growing, like growing at home and so forth, like, you know, home gardeners. So there's a Grow Well focus team that's pretty active, I would say, but they meet monthly.
Twice a month.
Twice a month.
But Cindy, it's like
And,
really based on Cindy, right? Isn't it?
no, there are other very active members.
I feel like almost all the garden stewards at this point seem
Yeah.
like they show up pretty
Yeah, and
frequently.
there's a new garden being built this year, by the way, which is really exciting.
Mhm.
Then Gateway has an employee garden, and a woman who's running that, even though it's not a community garden, she's joining our meetings.
Nice.
Growwell's really doing really great. I'm sorry, I know what I'm about to say is like super confusing. Also, Age Well and Play Well really wanna meet this year. So I'm facilitating their meetings
Wait,
this
so but
year.
why aren't they included in our, like, under our commission's plan then? Why are we focusing on the two?
Cause I think. Cause I can say it my way, do you wanna say, yeah,
Well, I was, you know, I think it's been a bit of like a step here,
It's
step there,
growing
step here,
pains.
step there, because when we had this strategic reflection, what felt pretty like, you know, common in the room was like, we have a lot of focus teams and there's a lot of different focus on like the different areas, and it felt like, you know, what was calling like healthy food environments and, what was it?
I call it physical, like
Yeah.
active transportation.
So I think that's kind of where this like draft document, it kind of felt like it ended up focusing on that. And part of that for me, I'll just say for healthy food environments is a little bit of my blind spot because I'm not the facilitator for Grow Well. So when someone tells me healthy food environments, my first thought is eat well. And I've been joining Grow Well for the past like 2 months. So trying to constantly bring in that Grow Well perspective. But I think our work kind of naturally falls along food and transportation within the department. So I feel like sometimes that kind of ends up in.
No, I don't mean to throw a wrench, but I kind of feel like as a commission,
Yeah.
live well, like
Yeah.
it might make more sense for us to not try to do it all with like 500 work groups or focus teams doing 100 things, but broaden our goals maybe. I don't know. I mean, it feels very like honed into like 2 specific areas of the work that your department is doing. And I think that we all want to be helpful, but almost it feels like live well should be focused on more than those 2 specific areas.
And a little,
I agree, just as a newbie perspective, I'm being a little confused, but it seems like, just from what little I know, and it is very little, you know, your guys' departments or groups are really doing a lot of stuff and they're really active, but it seems like, I mean, if we're talking about the health of Kingston as a whole, you know, why are we replicating or doing similar work to what's already been done? You know, I feel like we should look at all of the populations in Kingston and all of these subgroups and maybe figure out where the greatest need is. Like if you're saying, well, some of these subgroups don't have enough support or aren't doing as much, why don't we try to maybe, I mean, should we be more holistic and focused on the entire? I was gonna ask I mean, I know in general what the point of the Liberal Commission is, but do we have, I mean, there must be like a charter of goals or objectives, but I feel like we should be focusing more broadly on general, you know, the health of the entire city. And like it looks like your Eat Well is doing so much stuff, so I'm not sure why we're trying to do more or do something different. And I don't know, that's just.
So, can I just jump in over here? I feel like I have a proposal for next meeting that might be really helpful since there are new members. Is what if you and I, we meet and just kind of come up with an agenda that is basically like where things stand now, just like a real like next meeting, this is the state of each focus team, instead of having a whole meeting dedicated to one at a time, just be like, these are the states of the focus team as of February 2025, this is what Equal's doing, this is, and just kind of like nuts and bolts of each group, just to provide that overview before we start having these conversations about how it can change. I think it would behoove everyone just to know what is going on. And then, and I think that what is becoming obvious too is like how that then also relates to your department, like health and wellness versus the commission, and kind of each the structure of it all. Like here's the nuts and bolts, here's the structure, here's the teams, here's this. And just kind of start there as like kind of almost like a mapping exercise. This is the State of the Union, and then let's move from there, because I think I can feel the holes.
I'll give Emily credit. I mean, I feel like for our strategic reflection meetings, you have a lot of this content already to share. And yeah, since we have a lot of new faces, this is a good time. But you've already, you did a lot of that work too, so that might be kind of helpful for you.
Thank you, my dear. But I do hear a sort of a new, I almost even see it visually, like each focus team. Here's how often we've met.
How many people have showed up? Because it's easy to be like, we should do this, and it's like, well, one person showed at this meeting. So yes, and do you want to be that person? Because there really is the two of you. I want to give you guys so much credit for how much you hold. And so like, that's a great opportunity with the commission, is like, cool, if you have another idea, like, do you want to hold it? Do you want to like, show up for it? So
I think it'd be good also to speak to why we're trying to be more actually narrow and not so broad. I think that's what kind of came out of the strategic reflection last year, was being more narrow, because we felt like we were getting too broad, we were doing too many different things, and to kind of refocus the effort. And so that's why you're seeing kind of in the LWK, in the Liberal Kingston goals, you're seeing a more narrow focus. So as someone that's new, that I'm sure it's really confusing. But yeah, that just to give you some history there as well.
Perspective.
Yeah.
But is the idea of the Live Well Kingston Commission, what is the purpose of it? Maybe that was.
It's an advisory commission to the common council. Who is our common council?
Liaison, it's
Yeah.
Drew, Drew Andrews.
Why does Drew not come?
He came maybe once in,
So an advisory about just wellness?
There's a
Well, so-
resolution that Emily has the
Yeah.
bylaws and stuff for, so there's some specific
I
language.
think I sent you we call them rules of procedure.
Okay, I think you did all.
Yeah. These are always great questions.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't sure that answer that question, but now that I know, I'll read it.
it may not answer all the questions. So we have a vision, mission, and a purpose. Maybe the purpose is the one I'll reiterate. Live Well Kingston's purpose is to facilitate policy, environmental, and system changes to result in a healthy and active community through partnership and collaboration by, and then there's 10 bullet points, so I'm not gonna read that through.
Okay, I'll read it.
So,
I don't mean to slow things down.
no, it's all good. And we talked a little bit in some reflection that Live Well Kingston started as sort of it sort of started as a physical activity and nutrition response to high obesity rates.
Okay,
So that's why there's that core
got
behind
it,
it.
that's helpful.
Yeah, so it was really that it was what started it, but there was this idea of health in all places and how do you activate that in those different locations?
I think I got thrown by hearing that, because it does feel good to focus for sure. And I was on board with that last year. I think that I didn't realize, and maybe I'm exaggerating how active the other work groups are planning to continue to be. Like you said, one of them hopes to meet this year. That doesn't sound super, promising in terms of work getting done. So I think I got a little bit like, oh, all this work is happening and we're not even going to be knowing about it, but maybe I'm misunderstanding.
I mean, heal well, play well, and age well often felt like people would be like, wait, what are we doing here? What? And so we would every time go back to this idea of how are we making Kingston healthier? Age well met, and Nettie is very excited to work on some work this year in 2025 that supports so Age well has very similar goals to the Office for the Aging. Office for the Aging is already doing really great work. I don't know that we should be pulling together a group that just hears reports from the Office for the Aging. There's value in that, but we have limited capacity, so we have to choose what our priorities are. Play well, we created a list of physical activity opportunities in the city of Kingston through a partner, one of the members, Trust Up, created this online platform. We're gonna add that to the website, and that's sort of that was Play Well's accomplishment. And they really want to keep meeting this year, so I'm gonna support them. But a lot of it, discussion just comes down to limited capacity. Kristen and I really don't have any extra time. And Kristen runs a whole other program that we don't talk about here, which is Creating Healthy Schools Communities, which has lots of parallels and overlaps. But she's running a whole other program that could have its own board that kind of serves it. So I think my real want is about prioritizing what we can do. We all want Kingston to be healthier. So let's decide how we can have the biggest impact. Part of it also is having clear data about what our impact is, so we can improve our value. So when we throw everything at the wall, like we've sort of been doing, I don't really know if we're making a difference in Kingston. If Play Well gets together and talks about, oh, there's a great exercise class over here, am I making anybody healthier? I'm not entirely convinced that I am. So that's all for me, is about clarifying what our goals are, what our strategies are, and what our impact is going to be. Okay. So I heard a great suggestion from Katrina about doing a review of the state of Live Well Kingston at next month's meeting. I will love working on that. We talked a little bit about meeting a little bit less. Why don't let's meet again next month. Feels like there's a lot here still to keep talking through. So unless someone really says, I'm ready to not meet next month, let's continue to meet. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions for tonight?
people want to get involved in it, well, we have a meeting on February 11th.
Yeah,
I can invite
really
you to
encourage
that.
all of you to go and join the focus teams and find out what they're doing. Because it is, without this commission, the Grow Well would just kind of be a garden club like this. And I think one of the things that we're missing is we don't have someone from the common council here telling us, oh, we can do this, we can't do that, we can't. I think there's probably the focus teams don't ask the government for enough things. Like, I think that's absolutely, like, that's what separates the focus teams from just being a group of people hanging out, trying to do volunteer work.
If the liaison doesn't come here, can we come go to them? Like, is it possible? It's like chair and co-chair, we meet with Drew every once in a while and.
You can definitely
I'd be
have.
happy to encourage him to come also.
Exactly.
If you come to- if you
Yeah,
go one
I'm
meeting,
just
but I
saying,
never
just
saw
to
it.
have
Yeah.
communication once a week.
It would be good to have a better connection.
I'm sorry, I see Sarah's got a hand up, I see Nettie came on camera, I don't know who first.
Sarah can go first. She
It
can go
doesn't matter. I think it would be really helpful maybe too for the committees, sorry, I say committees, for the focus groups that do meet, just invite all of us on the commission, just so we know when it's gonna happen. Just on the invites, we can pop in, see if there's interest, all be a little bit more engaged, have, you know, smarter conversations when we do talk about the work, if we have popped into those. I know there's not a ton of them meeting right now except for Eat Well, but I would, if I have time and capacity, and hop into a call, even, and if they're meeting in person, of course, that's one thing, but you know, on Zoom too, but just inviting us would be great.
Nettie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm thinking of this structurally, like maybe we need to change the structure of how we have this set up and have each one of the commissioners actively engaged with the policy group. So sort of like, you know, pick which one you like. You know, I of course I'm doing Age Well, so nobody else gets that, although I'll share. You know, get that group together, discuss what this group wants to accomplish, help them get there, and then be the liaison back with Live Well, so everybody knows what's going on month to month in each group, so that we actually have, instead of sitting and talking about policy, we have actual roles of what it is we're interested in and how we're going to make it happen. So I just see we could do better being on the ground. I think, and it would be a better connection for all of us to sort of be like that captain of a particular policy group. And then you can really get your hands dirty. You know, you can really roll up your sleeves and work with people in the community that have a bigger interest than we do. So that's just a thought. If you kind of think it might be very effective to shift the way we actually perform. It's my opinion. Think about it.
Thank you, Nettie.
I guess I'm like still feeling confused in terms of like, if we're focusing on the two areas, like I think like the ask of the commission then, like it would go in that direction needs to be clarified.
That's
Right.
okay. Sounds like in this meeting we're questioning that again.
But I mean, I don't know if it's bringing up something that we decided we're not gonna do, because you have commissioners who are leading other focus teams besides the two priority areas, so that's where I feel confused. Like I'm confused what the ask is. If the ask is get involved in one of the work groups, is it any of the work groups or is it the two that we're focusing on as a commission? Do you know what I mean?
I think
It's wrong to look at it that there are 6, because there's not 6, it's, since I've been here, it kind of seems like there's only ever been 5 because travel well is just you, and that work is covered by a different advisory commission. So I know what you're saying, that it doesn't, it seems that we're favoring, you know, only 2 of them, but those are the 2 that I'm not sure so much about Ewa, but I know Grow has probably the most measurable, visible changes to the community.
But that's not one of the areas that we're focusing on, right?
We are, I think that was the bucket areas, it was about like food and health, and that was grow well and eat well.
Oh, okay.
So then
I
travel
actually
also,
misunderstand
we
that
put
sort of
play
it.
well with travel.
Oh,
So it's really,
I
it's not
see.
that we're getting rid of focus teams, we're just looking at it as like, these all are actually related to each other. These are the
Got
2
it.
pillars. And if people are interested here in having those focus teams, then let's see if they fit into those pillars. If we need a 3rd pillar, create a 3rd pillar.
And thank you for that clarification, Katrina, like, because I think that I'm the one that sort of distilled it down to just saying it's eat well and travel well. That's sort of using that language today. And in fact, thank you so much for coming on. Age well, often every discussion would come back
To food.
to transportation and food. So seniors want to be able to walk around the city of Kingston. And I'm like, well, we're talking about that in travel.
So that's
Yeah.
super helpful. I think that's how I got lost in this meeting, because starting the meeting by comparing Eat Well's goals with the commission's, it makes sense that they're different to me now.
Okay.
I don't, you know what I mean? Because it's not all encompassing, which I guess is maybe what you were trying to say and I didn't understand it at the
Yeah.
time.
And yeah, I think Kyle's on point, they're saying that sort of the commission should have these high level goals and each focus team sort of then a next level down of how you fulfill those goals. I guess I have a want to have the plan show everything so that you know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm trying to accomplish a communications goal through a structuring goal.
You did it.
So there's 4 focus groups.
God, I'm so sorry, this is so confusing.
I
It's
think
hard not to take this.
But I think there's like 2 big strategic pillars, and underneath that, there's two focus groups for each pillar. Maybe not all of them, so 4. What's the 5th one? Sorry. There's grow well and eat well are nutrition, food. Play well and travel well are transportation and active living, right? So what's the 5th one? Oh, okay, age well, sorry.
And I think, I'm hoping that in the next meeting, we'll like answer all these questions early on. Because I think what happened in this meeting a little bit, and I could be wrong, was that we're trying to kind of continue a discussion from last winter that not all of us were in. There's new people. I think we just need to like,
Yeah, maybe take a step back.
and just.
I think I was going too forward, trying to have an action
Just
plan to rule them all.
Well, I think I got confused, just to take accountability. I got confused by the compare and contrast the Eat Well
Yeah.
with the action plan, because that set me on a track to like not understand that those were,
Yeah.
that the Live Well Commission continues to have broader
Yeah.
overarching goals. Do you know what I
Yes,
mean?
and I don't think that you're entirely incorrect though, because when we're looking at them, I think a question that keeps coming up is what is the interplay between the commission and the focus teams?
Yes,
And so, but they've operated very independently, so that's why like Eat Well has their own action plan that has never like necessarily, there's not like Live Well, the commission hasn't set like a strategic vision for the focus teams, and the focus teams figure out within their lane of work, how do they achieve that strategic vision? Everything is created separately. When we were trying to look at it this time to see like, okay, like actually, like how could we make those together? Although, I mean, I feel like I would push back on changing Eat Well's action plan at this point, because that really was developed by the focus team with participation last year. So if we were going to have the commission set that for the focus team, that's something that like should be like participatory and done in the future. And it sounds like there's so much interest here from the commission to like really be involved in the focus team to like learn about it, you know?
So I don't think that you're actually totally incorrect in like having that like confusion and assumption, because we were kind of looking at it that way and realizing like, wait, actually, no, this just doesn't actually align. So we can't move in that direction currently.
I mean, it does go back to the communication thing. It's like, when I, sitting on Eat Well 6 years ago, I didn't know that there was other focus teams. I didn't know there was a commission. Like, I wasn't aware of that because why would I be?
Well, I would mention it every once,
I'm not putting on you.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying in general, it's just like, this is a good opportunity for us to be like,
and,
okay, yeah,
and
no,
maybe
what
it's
is
a,
the
again, going back to, it's a communications goal. Like, that either it's newsletters that go in between, or it's other ways of getting the information forth.
I think it's like a really interesting opportunity, like to watch as all of this work really was like pretty grassroots. So a lot of times I think, especially in the work that we all probably do, I won't speak for everybody, but you set like strategic goals at like an executive or senior leadership level, and then everyone kind of like follows from there. And my observation and occasionally my frustration, like to be honest, with Live Kingston is that like it feels very like Eat Well like pulls in what they're looking at, Grow Well pulls in what they're looking at, rather than it being top down from the commission. And I'm like super interested. Like all of this is like developed kind of like independently and autonomously from people who have these different interests, and we're just honestly maybe trying to like throw an umbrella over it with the commission. And
it
there's
should be bottom up.
and there's an opportunity to see like, well, how can we leverage the bottom up strengths, but then like kind of like bring it together with like some cohesion and like support that. So I think
And
there's
then
like,
connect it to
it's-
the common council. too.
yeah, and connect it to the common council, like get them to like come talk to us. I think it's actually very interesting. Let's see.
Get them to come talk to us.
Yeah.
What would they say to us?
Yeah, we'll talk to them. It might be, it's not me, I'm not saying anything.
All right.
I guess this is what happened, we get a whole new group of people, I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry. Here. You never know that.
No, this is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really great conversation. I really value everyone's thoughts and opinions on this.
Well, it seems like there's just new energy
Yeah.
or action, which is, I think, what you all have been asking for
Oh,
too. It's
I
like, we
agree.
can't do everything. And
Oh,
it's like, we're all now like,
I
okay, how can we
prefer-
help?
Need this, then antipathy, like
And you know that
Lack of
I'm often
interest.
in your, I have compassion for where you sit.
oh, you leave us.
I'm trying to do a thing.
Well, I sent the email calendar invitation to everybody, just so you know you have no excuses to not know when email is meeting.
Now I made myself late for dinner, I apologize.
Thank you all.
And creating healthy, I had to look it up, but creating healthy schools, and it's how does, that's your project, how does
Yeah.
that?
Rita, but what time is it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Feel free to stay on.
Quick version.
But feel free to go.
It's Saturday.
You can tell me next month if you rather.
I'm gonna give you a.
It's
It's all
a
your
separate
kids.
grant funded program
You're doing
that works within very specific strategies and
This is good
tactics.
stuff.
And
No,
it is
yeah.